Hey guys, Big Rick here. Thanks for checking out my video. Thought I'd do a little something today on my 1998 Kawasaki 1100 STX. So long story short on this thing, I bought this trailer for $250. I needed a double trailer for a couple other skis that I had. And the old boy was like, hey, you gotta take this ski with it. It doesn't run, don't know anything about it, but I've got a title. All right, cool, whatever. So I brought it home. It sat in a field at my house for, I don't know, about a year. So I had to bring it up here and do a little bit of work to it. Had to go through, clean some switches, had to rebuild the starter. Actually managed to get it running. So we put a new starter in it, battery, got everything up to par, so we thought. And I turned around, I took it to the lake on my vacation a couple weeks ago, and this thing ran like a dog. I mean, it was sucking oil, just wouldn't top out. So while I was down at the lake, which seems to be the case every time I go, I pulled it apart and took carburetors out of it, rebuilt the carburetors while I was down there. Got it running a little bit better, but still just couldn't quite get the power out of it that I thought it should have. So I got thinking about it, and I thought, I wonder what the fuel supply is doing on that. So I decided to pull the fuel sender out, and this is the pickup. This is what I pulled out of it. So as I pulled this thing out, you can see here, these are pretty brittle. One of them, just by me taking it apart, fell off into the tank. So that was quite the task. I actually had to take and get one of these trusty, retrieval tools to get that tube out of the fuel tank. That was fun. But yeah, so these are just brittle as can be, and they just came right apart, just literally broke off. So anybody that has ever tried to drink like a soda through a straw with a split in it, you know that you get a bunch of air in there, and it's just nasty as can be. So you can imagine what this thing's doing with these fuel lines, just all cracked and brittle, sucking all kinds of air, not able to get enough fuel. So I'm hoping this will fix my problem. Second problem that I run into after I got it out is they don't make these for the ski anymore. You can find them used, but you run into the same problem. So what's my solution? Went to my local auto parts store. O'Reilly's is my favorite. Anybody that knows me knows why. And I got some 5/16 nylon fuel tubing. Got a roll of it here. What is this, 10 foot? So more than enough for what I need. Slightly smaller outside diameter than these tubes. But the great thing about this is that you can actually heat it up. It's made to heat up and press over fittings and stuff, so it's rather malleable. So I should be able to take and use this line, heat it up, get it set to where I need it to be, and actually make 2 straight tubes off of this, get it affixed inside the unit, and roll from there. So we'll see how it works, and I'll show you guys along the way and after I'm done. Alright, so I got both the tubes out completely. There was a couple of O-rings down on the end there. Now, we're going to put this back together just a little bit different than what it was. So if you look here, these actually had these O-rings slipped around there. And where this tapers down, slipped up quite a ways up inside of the unit. I'm just not going to be able to get that shape out of it. So what I am going to be able to do, though, is we're going to have this new tubing, this fresh tubing here. We're going to expand it out to the same size as the outside diameter of this tube where it goes into here. So we're going to butt it right up against there. And I've used this stuff quite a few times in the past. I've had pretty good luck with fuel and oil and stuff. Just some JB Weld plastic weld. I believe this has a 3,500 PSI brake weight on it, so it should be more than enough to hold this nylon into this plastic housing. So a couple of quick things about this, if you guys ever have to do anything like this, you've got basically 2 lines here. You've got a reserve, and then you've got a main fuel line. So your main fuel line is going to be shorter than what your reserve line is for that. hopefully it's pretty obvious why that is. Your main fuel line is only going to suck fuel to a certain point. So once you run out of gas, well, then you've got that much gas left on your reserve to get you back to where you're going. So a lot of most skis are going to work in the same fashion. And then of course you got to remember how they go back in here. I'm pretty lucky. I measured them out and I laid them out, and after I did all that, I realized if you look inside there, it's got a short and a long tube in there, so you know exactly what's what, so shouldn't have a problem with it going back together. All right, so I've got my new tubes cut and made. Essentially what I did here was I took and started them from the bell where they're going to actually butt up inside of the pickup here, and made them just a hair longer than the length of where these actually pick up. The reason that I did that is, you know, I can always trim a little bit if I got them too long, but I expect these to have just a little bit of curvature to them because it's set on a coil for so long, they're going to curl up just a little bit. So did that just to keep them down in the tank a little bit further. So what I did was I took and I cut them to the length that I needed. I soaked them in hot water for a few minutes, pulled them out, and just kind of worked them, finessed them, rolled them across the counter, got them fairly straight. And then I took a pot of boiling water and I dipped the ends in them. See if that blows up there. And took Allen wrenches of various sizes and kind of stepped it up a little bit, just a little bit at a time, and actually belled those out. That way they would take and fit nice and snug inside of that. So on top of that, we're going to use a little bit of plastic weld here, and we cleaned everything up real good with alcohol. That way we get a good nice stick to everything. And these things should last pretty well the life of this ski. So I'll get it all put together here and let you see how it looks. All right, so here we are now. Got the new tubes in place. They fit pretty snug in there, almost too snug. So one other thing that I did before I put it all together is I actually got some sandpaper and I just took and scuffed up the edges a little bit and then cleaned it again with alcohol, just to give the epoxy a good, you know, hard surface to grab onto. As you can see here, both of the tubes are staggered. They're seated in there really well. The epoxy actually filled in really well. I think this is going to work out pretty good. Like I said, these are going to have a little bit of a curve to it. So if I actually put this in the tank, flip it over, I made it to where the curvature of the tubing goes towards the rear of the tank. Reason being, you know, you're out there getting on it, that fuel is going to go to the back of the tank, so that's the direction you want to pull your fuel from. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think it'll do me a great job. I'm actually going to let this set overnight. It cures in 5 minutes, but you need to leave it set for probably 24 hours before you can actually put it in and use it. So we'll put this in, put the ski back together tomorrow, and fire it up and see how she runs. All right, so one of the things that I thought I'd take care of while I've got this thing apart is clean up the actual fuel level sending unit itself. So this thing works most of the time, but it's got a habit of, you know, it'll be on full, and it takes quite a while running it before it actually registers that it's full. I'm not sure exactly how accurate this sender is while it's reading. If this is like any other sender, you've got an electrical circuit that runs through there, and this actually reads the level of resistance through ohms. And I would assume that these floats travel up and down outside of this brass tube, and that changes that level of resistance, and therefore changes the level of fuel that's shown on your gauge. So just kind of looking at this here, it's pretty nasty. There's a lot of stuff on it that I would say affects that ohm level. So I'm just going to clean it up and put it back in. You know, if it works better than what it did, that's awesome. If it doesn't, I'm not really that concerned about it. I mean, it's a jet ski. You're not trying to take the thing to work or anything. So if you run out of fuel, hey, you're at the lake, enjoy it, you'll figure it out. Well, that wasn't too bad at all. So I just pulled this thing apart. It's got little clips on there, just pop those off, take the end piece off, everything moves around freely. Took it over to the wire wheel on my bench grinder, and man, I got that all polished up, looking pretty. Everything shines up on there. You know, even if that doesn't fix the issue, it's sure gonna look good sitting down there in that tank where nobody will see it. Like I said, if it doesn't work, no big deal. You know, that's kind of why you got those split lines on that sender anyhow. So you've got a gallon or so of fuel to get you where you need to go if you do run out on your main fuel. So anyhow, we'll see how everything works out. All right, so it's the next day. I've got that sending unit set all night, probably about 16 hours now, so it's set up pretty good. Got the bike all put back together. I went ahead and primed it, that way I'm not cranking on it forever, but hopefully it'll fire up and we won't have too much trouble out of it. Well, that was promising. I can tell you this thing idles a whole lot better than it did before. Seems to wrap out better. Still got a little bit of a dead spot in the carburetor, but you know, that's okay. We'll get that figured out. Next big test is take it out of the water, see how it tops out. I was actually able to get it wrap out and just sit here hitting the throttle, which is something I've never been able to do before. So I think the fuel supply is much better. We'll see how it does. So if you like what you saw, hit the like button, subscribe. This is my first video, so I'm obviously still playing with editing and stuff. If you got any tips or suggestions, man, I'm open to them. I appreciate you guys' time. Probably the next video that I'll do will be recovering this seat. You see it's pretty nasty. So again, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you.